Okay, so welcome to part 3 of Carl Jung's theory of personality. So now we are going to discuss the dynamics of personality according to his theory, analytical psychology. Okay, so first, causality and teleology. So as we can see, yung kanyang theory involves the opposition principle. So meaning to say, parehong merong influence yung past and yung future sa present behavior. So, if you could recall sa theory ni Freud, mas merong influence yung cause, di ba, yung past. Unlike sa theory ni Carl Jung, in-emphasize din niya yung importance ng future, no? Na hinihila din tayo ng future kung paano tayo kikilos sa kasalukuyan. So, past and present, balance yan. It can influence our present behavior. So, for example, yung sa dreams, no? Kung kay Freud, ang dreams, ito yung repository ng mga unconscious desires, wishes, no? Na hindi po pwede sa reality, kaya naman sa panaginip siya nag-a-appear, no? And then, pero kay Carl Jung, yung dreams o yung panaginip, meron daw siyang parang goal, no? Goal directed siya. Ibig sabihin, meron kang parang gustong gawin, no? O kaya naman, ito yung magtutulak sa'yo kung paano mo siya gagawin sa future, yung mga dreams na yun. So, human behavior is shaped by both causal and teleological forces, and that causal explanations must be balanced with teleological ones. So, yan. Pag sinabing tele, it means future, no? Causal, it means the past, or yun nga, yung cause. So, causality holds that present events have their origin in previous experiences. Kaya nga sinasabi nila, no, ng mga nasa psychodynamic, the past behavior is the best predictor of present behavior. Yan. Kumbaga parang kaya mo nagagawa yan, you look at to her past, diba? To his past. Pwede mong balikan ano ba nangyari before, kaya siya ganyan ngayon. And then teleology holds that present events are motivated by goals and aspirations for the future that direct a person's destiny. O, diba? Ibig sabihin din ito na yung ating mga present behavior ay merong pupuntahan, no? Kaya ka ganyan ngayon is because meron kang ina-aspire or meron kang goal na gusto mong ma-achieve, no? Meron kang lahat ng ginagawa mo ngayon sa present ay because of your goals, no? Yung mga gusto mong gawin. Halimbawa, gusto mong maging, for example, no, in the simplest form, gusto mong maging doctor, no? So, lahat ng ginagawa mo ngayon, yung pag-aaral mo, yung mga lifestyle mo, ay nakadirect, no, doon sa pagiging doktor. Yan. So, kaya ka nag-aaral ng medicine or psychology is because you wanted to be a doctor in the future. So, parang ganun. Okay? So, teleological. So, ganun yung kay Carl Jung. We are both influenced, no, yung present behavior natin are both influenced, balanced, influenced by cause and the future or teleological. Okay, next one is the progression and regression. So, if you could remember yung sa theory ni Freud again, most likely ang sa theory niya ay yung regression lang, no? Yun yung in-emphasize niya. And regression is a form of a defense, no? A defense mechanism na kapag tayo ay nai-stress, na-anxious, we want to go back to our past behavior. We want to seek our mother's care, di ba? Gusto natin bumalik sa sinapupunan, no? If you could recall yung meron akong nakitang meme na ano yun, sabi niya na mama, no, balik na lang ako sa sinapupunan, ayoko na ma-stress. So parang ganun. That is a form of regression, which is a form of a defense mechanism na once na na-stress ka, parang gusto mo maging bata ulit. Kasi nga, being a child involves no responsibility and no stress. Pero sa theory ni Carl Jung, both progression and regression influence, no? At kailangan siyang mangyari para mabalanse yung ating personality. Hindi pa pwedeng lagi tayong regress. Hindi rin pa pwedeng laging progress. Kailangan balanse yung dalawang yan. So, yung believe that the regressive step is necessary to create a balanced personality and to grow towards self-realization. Kasi kailangan din nating mag-regress daw or pumunta sa ating inner world. No, pumunta, yun yung regression para kay Carl Jung, hindi naman yung regression na iba kasi yung kay Sigmund Freud, ano? Yung sa kanya, parang babalik ka doon sa umpisa, kung saan ka nanggaling, kung ano ka before, yung mga hopes and dreams mo, ganyan, yung inner world mo, yung mga thoughts and feelings, kailangan mo daw siyang puntahan para maintindihan mo rin yung sarili mo. And then, adaptation to the outside world involves the forward flow of psychic energy and is called progression. Yan. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, yung progression ay related siya sa extraversion, no? Yung adaptation mo, yung pag-a-adapt o pag-a-adjust mo sa outside world or sa reality. Ito, yung mga interaction mo with people, yan, kailangan nagpo-progress ka. Kailangan mag-a-adjust ka. And then, yung adaptation naman sa inner world or yung introversion, no, yung sa sarili, relies on a backward flow of psychic energy and is called regression. Kailangan din yun. Kailangan mo rin magmuni-muni, mag-reflect sa sarili para mas maintindihan mo yung sarili mo. So, yun. Yung progression and regression ay yun yung magbabalanse, no, dun sa personality. Kasi nga, if you could remember, di ba, yung mandala, yan, it is a balance, no? Yung self, kailangan siyang mabalance. So, hindi pwedeng at some point you are in a progressive manner and at some point you are in a regressive manner, di ba? Kaya nga minsan gusto mo mapag-isa, gusto mo alone ka, minsan naman gusto mo may kasama ka, minsan gusto mo meron kang group of people na katuwang mo sa mga gawain, minsan naman you better to do it alone, no? Kasi nga ganun, kailangan balanse. Hindi laging may kasama ko, hindi laging mag-isa ka lang. So, that's it. Progression and regression. Okay, so as for the psychological types, ayan, according to Carl Jung, actually dito galing yung, or dito based yung personality test na MBTI, yung Myers-Briggs type indicator, no? Dito galing yun, dito yun based. Hindi si Carl Jung gumawa nung test na yun, kundi, kumbaga inadapt na siya. Ito lang yung theoretical framework na ginamit para ma-develop yung test na yun. So, according to Carl Jung's theory, we have two basic attitudes, the introversion and extraversion, and then four functions, the thinking, feeling, sensing, and intuiting. So, ano nga ba yung attitude? An attitude o yung introversion and extraversion is a predisposition to act or react in a characteristic direction. So, ibig sabihin, pareho tayong pinoposes yung dalawang attitude na yun. No? We are both introverted and extroverted. Kasi nga, meron lang tayong, ito yung tendency ba? Yan, tendency o predisposition. Sabihin, nasa sayo na yan, nasa sa loob mo na yan. So, depende na lang sa'yo kung ano yung gagamitin mo. So, pwede kang mag-react or mag-act in an introverted manner or in an extroverted manner. So, each person has an introverted and an extroverted attitude, although one may be conscious while the other is unconscious. So, ibig sabihin, hindi mo pwedeng sabay na gamitin yung dalawang attitude. So, kapag ang ginagamit mo for now is sabihin natin yung introverted or introversion. Yun yung conscious, no? Yung the extroverted will be unconscious. So, hindi siya sabay. So, ganun siya, no? One at a time lang. Pero, pareho mo siyang pwedeng gamitin. Okay? Parehong pwede mong gamitin, pero hindi siya pwedeng sabay. Yung isa ay conscious, yun yung aware ka, ito yung ginagamit mo as of now, but the other will be unconscious or you're not aware of. Pero nandoon pa rin. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, minsan akala mo mahiyain ka. Pero in some instances, nagagawa mo namang makimingle or makisocialize. Kasi nga, pareho mong posesyon. Yun nga lang, at that specific situation, hindi siya conscious at that time, yung pagiging extrovert mo. Okay? Ayan. So, introversion is turning inward of psychic energy with an orientation toward the subjective. So, ito yung paloob, no? So, parang yun nga, as I've said a while ago, yung sa regression. And then, extraversion is turning outward of psychic energy so that a person is oriented towards the objective and away from the subjective. Kasi yung pagiging, yung introversion kasi ay medyo mas malalim, no? Deep. Kaya subjective siya. Kumbaga, ito yung mga perception mo. So, ikaw lang yung nakakaalam nito. Pwedeng iba yung sa ibang tao, iba yung perception nila about a specific event or experience. But for you, yun yung paniniwala mo kasi nga subjective. So, it cannot be, kumbaga mahirap siyang i-invalidate kasi nga, it is from your own point of view. While the extraversion attitude naman is, ito medyo, kumbaga outside kumbaga maraming tao rin yung nakakakita or pwede mag-interpret nung event na yon or situation na yon. So, it becomes objective kasi when 10 people agrees, di ba, kumbaga parang nagkakasundo kayo na yun yung interpretation niyo dun sa event na yun. So, that's why it is objective. Tsaka outside, external. So, halos lahat ng tao or pare-parehong tao nakaka-experience ng ganoong similar na experience. While introversion, inward, ikaw lang yung nakaka-experience nun. Right? So, as for the functions naman, both introversion and extraversion can combine with any one or more of 4 functions, forming 8 possible orientations or types. Yan. So, from attitude, so meron tayong dalawang attitude, the introversion and extraversion that we both have. We also have these 4 functions. Yan. These 4 functions are also visible or included dun sa dalawang attitude. And then, pwede siyang mag-combine, and then, it can form 8 possible orientation or types. Yan. So, kasi meron siyang yung bang, di ba sabi natin, hindi pwedeng sabay, yung introversion and extraversion. The other one is conscious, the other one is unconscious. So, ganun din dito, no, sa functions. One can be a dominant. Yan, yung isa ay medyo nasa, kumbaga parang outside of the picture. And then, merong dalawa na hindi mo ginagamit, nasa unconscious part. So, parang ganun lang din. Pero it does not mean na hindi mo na siya possess, no? Nasa sayo pa din yun, nandiyan pa rin sa'yo, yung 4 na functions. Yun nga lang, meron lang nagdo-dominate na function for your personality. Okay? So, the 4 functions are the following: the sensing, thinking, feeling, and intuiting. Yan. So, pag sinabing sensing, syempre, gamit yung mga senses, di ba? It tells people that something exists. If you cannot sense it, then it cannot be taken as a fact or as truth, di ba? Kailangan nakikita mo, naririnig, naaamoy, nararamdaman, nalalasahan, okay? So, yun yung sensing. So, if you're that kind of people, you like you don't like to imagine, you wanted work or jobs that are manual, no? Yung ginagamit yung hands mo, yung mga cook, ginagamit yung kanilang sense of taste, yung mga photographer, ginagamit yung kanilang sense of sight, yung mga ganyan. So, sensing yan, no? Sensing people. Gusto nila gamit yung kanilang mga senses, stimulate yung kanilang mga senses. And then, the other function is thinking. Enables them to recognize its meaning. So, thinking people, ito yung mga tao na parang Gusto nag-iisip, 'di ba? Yung bang, halimbawa, mga, let's say, lawyers, no? Yung mga teachers, pwede rin, 'di ba? And yung bang in-interpret natin yung mga bagay-bagay, yan. Mahilig tayong mag-isip, to decide, to solve problems, yan, thinking. And then feeling, kumbaga sa thinking, merong formula, no? May formula, kumbaga parang, yan, mga mathematician, thinking yan. Okay, feeling tells them its value or worth. So, sa feeling, it doesn't mean that kumbaga parang hindi masyadong needed yung reason or yung thinking. Reason also pertains to thinking, no? So, sa feeling, so more on, tinitingnan natin yung value ng mga bagay-bagay, ayan, or worth ng mga experiences or events. Ayan, feeling. Inaalala natin yung damdamin ba yan, ng ibang tao bago tayo mag-decide. Yan. For example, you wanted to or you are, halimbawa, kasama ka sa board para i-expel yung student. Yan, kasi ano siya, sabihin natin nag-plagiarize, halimbawa ganon. So, if you are the thinking type, then, according to handbook, di ba? Yan, so, meron kang, ano agad, basis, no? Patatalisikin mo siya kasi bawal yun eh, nasa handbook yun, di ba? And meron siyang sanction, which is yun nga, sabihin natin expulsion. But if you're the feeling, so ano bang value nung person na yun? Ano ba yung, gaano ba ka worth let's say, yung ginawa niya? Baka naman pwedeng pagbigyan pa, yung mga ganon. So, ganon siya, no? Thinking and feeling. So, parang yun yung counterpart. And then, intuition allows them to know about it without knowing how they know. So, sa intuition, so parang ito yung kabaliktaran ng sensing. Kasi nga, sa sensing, you need to sense something, di ba, before you believe. Sa intuition, pwedeng wala kang ma-sense, di ba? Pero, meron ka kagad na, tawag doon, yung parang imagination or something like parang gut feeling, ganyan na yung mga baka moments, yan. So, yan yung intuition na parang alam mo kahit na walang evidence, ganyan, intuition. So, yan yung 4 functions of introversion and extraversion. Alright, so here are the specific definition pa ng mga 4 functions. Okay, so sa thinking, logical, intellectual activity that produces a chain of ideas. Ano ba? So logical siya, reasonable siya. Yan. So meron tayong extroverted thinking and introverted thinking. So as I've said a while ago, di ba? Yan, mathematicians, accountants, engineers, yan, mga extroverted thinking yan. Kasi they rely heavily on concrete thoughts, but they may also use abstract ideas if these ideas have been transmitted to them from without, for example, from parents or teachers. Yan. So, kailangan talaga meron siyang concrete, no, na, kumbaga parang may mga formulas. Ayan. Kailangan nakikita mo talaga, nasusukat mo talaga. Yan. Gamit yung kanilang mga kamay. Kaya extroverted thinking, no, sa outside. Introverted thinking, ito nag-iisip din naman, pero pa-inward, no, subjective, yan, kaya mga inventor, philosophers, yan. So, people react to external stimuli, but their interpretation of an event is colored more by the internal meaning they bring with them than by the objective facts themselves. Okay? So, parang tayo parang nasa gitna yung psychology kasi we also have this introverted thinking kasi subjective din eh. Kasi depende yun nga, sa personality, sa intelligence, no? Paano natin i-describe yung behavior ng isang tao. So, minsan di tayo nagre-rely doon sa objective facts na nakikita lang natin. We also dig deep down the person's innermost feelings and thoughts. So, ganun. But we also rely to objective facts. Kaya nag-gather tayo ng mga data, in-interview natin, binibigyan natin ng mga inventories, ng scales, para din maging objective din siya at ma-measure, no, kung gaano ba siya ka-depressed, diba? Hindi lang puro kwento lang or based lang sa kanyang subjective inner reflections. Okay. So, as for the feeling function, The process of this is the process of evaluating an idea or event or valuing. So feeling is the evaluation of every conscious activity, even those valued as indifferent. Extroverted and introverted. So extroverted feeling, people use objective data to make evaluations. They are not guided so much by their subjective opinion, but by external values and widely accepted standards of judgment. And the introverted feeling, people base their value judgments primarily on subjective perceptions rather than objective facts. So parang sinasabi dito, halimbawa yun nga yung example ko kanina, yung sa kung patatalsikin mo ba, vote ka ba, are you voting for that student to be expelled? So if you are a feeling type, no, of a person, well, you will think twice, di ba? Kumbaga parang, oo nga, nasa handbook, pero tingnan mo din yung value nung gagawin yung expansion, o kaya naman yung worth nung person na yun, expelled mo, kumbaga magja-judge ka based doon sa ano ba yung mga ano to yung pwedeng kalabasan, yung consequence nung gagawin nyo, yung meron pa bang ibang paraan para ma-realize niya yung mistake niya without expelling the student. Parang ganon. Valuing. So, medyo ano talaga to, medyo mahirap kasi feeling eh. Diba? Based on feeling. So, you're going to evaluate. Hindi lang based lang dun sa isang formula which is the handbook. Porque sinabi sa handbook na okay, expulsion ang sanction, parang hindi agad. Kailangan medyo, yun nga, bibigyan mo muna din ng value or worth yung person and the experience itself, no? Kung ano ba yung dapat gawin. Hindi porke sinabi nakasulat sa batas, yun na kagad yung gagawin natin. Parang ganon. Okay? Yan. Sa sensing naman, simply the individual's perception of sensory impulses. So, meron tayong extroverted again and introverted sensing. Ayan, sa extroverted, people perceive external stimuli objectively in much the same way that these stimuli exist in reality. Ayan, so, this facility is essential in such occupations as proofreader, house painter, wine taster, or any other job demanding sensory discriminations congruent with those most of people. Kasi nga, gamit nila yung mga senses nila. Sense of sight, taste, hearing, ganyan. And then, kino-compare nila doon sa ibang tao na nakaka-sense din doon sa mga stimuli na yun. Kaya extroverted. Sa introverted, ito most likely inward again, di ba? Sensing pa rin, pero subjective. So, sariling interpretasyon niya. So, kung ano yung pagkakakita niya, pagkakarinig niya, pagkakaramdam niya, yun yung kanyang paniniwalaan. So, ito ay most likely applicable sa mga portrait artist, yan, yung mga painter, no? Yan, kasi nga yung paintings nila extremely personalized, no? They rely on an introverted sensing attitude. Unlike dun sa ito, yung sa isang example, halimbawa yung mga cook or chef, yan, extroverted sensing, di ba? Kasi nga, kailangan yung ano nila, yung sense of taste nila, in accordance din with the sense of taste din ng ibang tao. Kasi, syempre, paano mabibili yung produkto, yung food, kung hindi siya masarap sa panlasa ng maraming tao? Parang ganun. Diba? Extroverted sensing. Okay? Ayan, intuition or intuiting. Intuition involves perception beyond the workings of consciousness. So, sabi ko kanina medyo parang kabaliktaran siya ng sensing, no? Kasi nga, ano siya parang nasa loob, hindi mo pwedeng, ano to, hindi mo siya basta-basta masisense, gano'n. Hindi mo siya makikita, maririnig, no? Parang beyond, no? More creative and often add or subtract elements from conscious sensation. So extroverted intuitive people are oriented toward facts in the external world rather than fully sensing them. However, they merely perceive them subliminally. Ayan. So parang ano din, applicable din siya sa mga artists, no? Yung bang merong behind meaning pa. So bukod pa dun sa nakikita, bukod pa dun sa naririnig, nalalasahan, parang meron pang ibang kahulugan. Ayan. Subliminal, pag sinabi mo subliminal, meron siyang other interpretation. Ayan. Meron siyang ibang interpretasyon. For example, yung mga, I don't know, no, kung alam niyo yung, halimbawa yung nauso dati na, halimbawa may mga music, may mga recordings na mga lyrics na according to lyrics, yun yung sinasabi nila, yung interpretation, di ba? Pag binasa mo yung lyrics, pinakinggan mo yung lyrics, pero nung ni-rewind mo siya, parang meron siyang ibang meaning, no? Pabaliktad, no? Meron siyang ibang, yun nga, subliminal. And also the commercials, the advertisements that we see, especially on TV or in the ads, no? Sa mga billboards, na mga posters, basta mga ads. Nakikita natin sila, nasi-sense natin na yun yung sinasabi ng ad na yun, advertisement na yun, na mapapabili ka. Pero other than that, meron siyang subliminal content or mga hidden na interpretation kaya ka napapabili. Okay? Parang gano'n. Ayun. And introverted, intuitive people are guided by unconscious. Introverted, intuitive people are guided by unconscious perception of facts that are basically subjective and have little or no resemblance to external reality. So, ito yung mga mystics, prophets, surrealistic artists, or religious fanatics. And so, sa development of personality, meron ding stages of life development si Carl Jung. So, he emphasized the second half of life, the period after age 35 or 40, when a person has the opportunity to bring together the various aspects of personality and to attain self-realization. Kasi during this age, yung middle age, dun daw natin na nababalance, no? Doon tayo nagkakaroon ng, yun nga, yung sense of mandala, di ba, yung balancing of the self sa age na to, no? Na nako-conquer na natin yung ating mga fears, which are the shadow, we recognize the persona, we recognize the anima and the animus within ourselves, yan. So, eto daw yun, yung age na yun. Kasi, he himself had experienced this, kumaga parang nagkaroon siya ng introspection, no, sa kanyang sarili. And during this time, naging more on introverted siya, kinausap niya yung sarili niya, nakausap niya yung kanyang anima, no, during this age. So, he also referred to this, yung creative illness, no, yung during the middle age, na kung saan nagiging mas nagmumuni-muni, nagre-reflect kapag ganito na yung edad natin. So, yun, the second half of life. Para sa kanya, dito daw nagkakaroon ng opportunity na maging balance yung ating personality. Okay, so here are the stages of development: the childhood, the youth, middle life, and old age. Yan. So, hinati lang naman niya sa 4, no? Para siyang, kung i-drawing natin, para siyang orasan. Ayan. So, yung childhood, ito yung nasa early morning, diba? Yung youth, yun yung nasa tanghali, diba? Kaya nga, pag mainit, nandun yung parang rurok, no? Yung peak ng development na kung saan ay mainit, papusok. Ayan. Kaya nandun yung youth. And then the middle life, medyo pahapon na. Ayan. And then the old age, yun yung medyo paggabi na. Ayan. Kumbaga sa orasan. Kaya 4 na, yan, nahati. And then the mid is the midlife. The early morning sun is childhood, full of potential, but still lacking in brilliance, di ba? Kumbaga, madaming oportunidad kapag ikaw ay bata, di ba? Yun nga lang, hindi pa masyadong maliwanag. Ibig sabihin, yung brilliance referred to the consciousness wherein we are aware of ourselves, of what we want, ano ba yung mga goals natin, ano ba yung meron sa atin, ba nararamdaman natin, di ba? So, medyo magulo pa. Hindi pa natin yun fully recognize or we cannot fully grasp no, yung mga pangyayari sa buhay natin. And then the morning sun is the youth climbing toward the zenith but unaware of the impending decline. Ayan. So, sabi ko nga kanina, ito yung parang nasa peak, no, na sobrang liwanag. Yan. Kaya naman marami tayong ginagamit na energy during this time, during our youth, na kung saan marami tayong ginagawa, masyadong busy, masyadong at the peak of the moment, ganyan. But, yun nga, hindi natin nakikita yung impending danger or yung decline, yung papalapit na dilim. Yun, kasi nga sobrang liwanag, so mapusok, no? Lahat sinusubukan, lahat ginagawa without thinking of what will happen after. And the early afternoon sun is the midlife. Ayan. So, ito, brilliant like the late morning sun, but obviously headed for the sunset. So, medyo papadilim na siya. Kumaga parang, yun nga, padapit hapon, no, sa Tagalog. Kung saan, nagmumuni-muni na tayo ng mga, ano pa ba yung pwede nating gawin, ano pa ba hindi natin nagagawa, kasi malapit ng dumilim, di ba? So, parang ganon. And then, the evening sun is the old age. Yan. It's once bright consciousness, now markedly dim. Ayan. So, medyo, ayan na, dumilim na, no? So, hindi na masyadong conscious. Yun nga, maaring sa ibang matatanda, nakakalimot na, may mga hindi na nare-remember, kakaroon ng cognitive impairment, and also yung awareness sa sarili, di ba? Na unti-unti na rin nawawala. So, yan. Yun yung stages of development according to Carl Jung. Hinati lang niya sa 4. The childhood, the youth, the middle life, and old age. Yan. So, sa childhood, meron daw itong 3, actually, dalawang phase, ayan, anarchic and the monarchic, at 3, and the dualistic phase. The anarchic, wala pa. No? It's very chaotic, magulo, and sporadic consciousness. And wala pa talaga. As in, scattered pa yung kanyang consciousness. He is not aware of himself, of the surroundings, or even if he's not aware, if he is awake. Di ba? So, anarchic yun. And then, monarchy characterized by the development of the ego and by the beginning of logical and verbal thinking. Ito na, nag-uumpisa na siyang magkaroon ng sariling ng isip and nabe-verbalize, no, by means of language, yung kung ano yung kanyang iniisip. Yan. Pero, sarili lang, kaya monarchic, no, kumbaga parang his or her own point of view pa lang yung kanya nakikita and he cannot perceive the other one who's talking to her or to him. And the ego, as perceiver, arises during the dualistic phase of childhood when the ego is divided into the objective and subjective. Okay, so dito, yung ego ay nagkaroon na siyang dalawang aspect, which is the objective and subjective. So, meron siyang, pwede siyang mag-turn inward, no, maging introvert, or pwede rin mag-adapt sa outside world, which is the extraversion. So, nahati na si ego as perceiver. Kasi sa una, sa monarchic, more on inner muna. Yan. So, more on introversion. So, he cannot understand what the other person is talking about. And pagdating sa dualistic phase, ito medyo aware na rin siya sa kanyang surroundings and to other people's thinking. Okay, as for the youth stage, so from puberty until midlife, ito yung period, no, ng youth. And then it's strive to gain psychic and physical independence from their parents, find a mate, raise a family, and make a place in the world. So dito talaga yung marami tayong gustong gawin, yan discover, nag-adventure, we want to be independent, to gain our freedom, diba, from our parents. We want to raise our own family, to succeed in our chosen careers. Yan. So this is a period of increased activity, maturing sexuality, growing consciousness, kasi nga, yun nga, kung i-compare sa sun, dito yung tirik na tirik talaga yung araw, and recognition that the problem-free era of childhood is gone forever. So, parang dito, sa childhood kasi, oo, wala tayong responsibilities, wala ring problema, di ba? Yun nga lang, we are still dependent, di ba, sa parents natin. And we cannot do things on our own. While here, ikakaroon ka ng freedom, independence, pero at the same time, tumataas din yung level of responsibility and hindi ka na problem-free. Ayan, kasi the more responsibility, the more problems there are to emerge. Yan, during the youth. And then, without seeing the possibility of decline, sabi nga kanina, di ba? Na pwedeng merong, yung papadilim na, no? Yung sa middle age. Ayan. Okay, and then here in middle life, it begins at approximately age 35 or 40. Ayan, their psychological health is not enhanced by success in business, prestige in society, or satisfaction with family life. They must look forward to the future with hope and anticipation, surrender the lifestyle of youth, and discover new meaning in middle life. Parang dun sa youth kanina, more on ang predisposition of acting or reacting is extraversion, di ba? Kasi kailangan naka-turned outside the world ka eh, no? Objective, di ba? And here, parang unti-unti pumapaling na tayo ulit sa pagiging introverted. Ayan. So, palalayain mo na yung lifestyle mo. So, hindi na ganun ka-adventurous, medyo maglalaylo ka, and you discover new meaning sa buhay mo, ganyan. And then, but still looking forward dun sa future mo with hope and anticipation. This step often, but not always, involves a mature religious orientation. So, dito rin, no, dito rin, kung mapapansin niyo sa middle life, parang nagiging mas religious yung mga tao. No? Pero hindi naman lagi, sabi nga, di ba? Or hindi naman lahat ng nasa middle life ay nagiging religious. Yeah. Kasi nga, siguro dahil nga papalapit na dun sa death, no? Syempre, old age na ang sunod, and then death comes after. Parang, yun nga, parang nagbabalik loob or parang naniniwala, gusto nating maniwala na merong higher being, na meron tayong pupuntahan after we die. So, ganun siya, no? According to Carl Jung. Yan. Especially Carl Jung's family, which is a very religious family and also believes in the occult, diba? Yung mga mystical, phenomena. Ayan. So, yeah, middle life. And then, for the old age, the fear of death is often taken as normal, but Jung believed that death is the goal of life, and that life can be fulfilling only when death is seen in this life. O, di ba? Ang lalim. Kasi nga, kumbaga parang, yung babalikan natin yung ano niya, no, yung principle niya about progression and regression. Now, our present behavior is influenced by the causality and the teleology. And teleological also means death, di ba? Yung future. Doon naman papunta lahat. Parang, kumbaga meron siyang ending. Okay? But for Carl Jung, para tayo nasa loop eh. Parang, of course, there is death, pero parang there is something more. Parang death is only the beginning. Parang gano'n, no? And, yun nga, kumbaga ma-appreciate mo lang daw yung life mo if if makikita mo na ang ending ay, kumbaga yung goal ng lahat ng ito ay death, no? Kumbaga parang merong katapusan, so mas iba-value mo, dahil nga may katapusan, may ending, so mas iba-value mo yung buhay mo ngayon. Mas pahalagahan mo siya kasi anytime soon, pwedeng mawala sa'yo, pwedeng mawala ka. That's why kailangan mong gawin yung mga bagay na dapat mong gawin, no? Together with your family, your friends, relatives, or sa sarili mo. Diba? Kailangan, yun nga, ma-appreciate mo nga lang, ma-fulfill mo yung life to its fullest potential if if only we perceive death as our final goal. Okay? So, Jung treated these people by helping them establish new goals and find meaning in living by first finding meaning in death. So, kailangan, yun muna daw. Magkaroon muna ng kahulugan. Ano ba sa'yo ang death? So, in that way, in that manner, you will also, or you will able to find meaning also in life or in living. Parang yung, yung movie na Soul, sabi ni 22, bakit pa tayo mabubuhay? Ang sarap, kumbaga parang, what's the meaning of living if mamamatay ka rin naman, di ba? Parang gano'n, parang, ba't gusto bang mabuhay? Magsasuffer ka sa buhay, parang gano'n. So, gano'n. Malalim. Yun nga, sabi nga ni Carl Jung, ayan, death is the goal of life. So, parang mamamatay ka rin naman, why not, di ba? Gawin mo na yung dapat mong gawin. Live your life to the fullest, and parang may pagka-humanistic existential din yung theory niya, no? Pero yun nga, medyo may structure naman kahit pa paano. Unlike the humanistic existential, wala kasi masyadong structure doon. And walang stages of development, walang dynamics, more on therapeutic alliance with the client or the patient. Unlike here, sa psychodynamic, iniintindi natin, ini-explain, dinidescribe natin to be able to predict the behavior of a person. Kaya, magkaiba pa din in some ways. Okay, so here is a famous narrative that Carl Jung wrote in 1934 during his 60th year. Ordinarily, we cling to our past and remain stuck in the illusion of youthfulness. Being old is highly unpopular. Nobody seems to consider that not being able to grow old is just as absurd as not being able to outgrow child-sized shoes. Okay? A still infantile man of 30 is surely to be deplored, but a youthful septuagenarian, isn't that delightful? And yet both are perverse, lacking in style, psychological monstrosities. A young man who does not fight and conquer has missed the best part of his youth, and an old man who does not know how to listen to the secrets of the brooks as they tumble down from the peaks to the valleys makes no sense. He is a spiritual mummy who is nothing but a rigid relic of the past. O, diba? Ang deep. Okay, so, parang ang interpretation ko lang dito is, sabi niya, kailangan nating tumanda, kailangan nating mag-grow, di ba? From our comfort zone, hindi tayo laging walang alam, kailangan natin mag-gain ng independence, but at the same time, upon gaining that independence, we also have responsibilities. Kumbaga parang what's the sense of living kung hindi mo mararanasan din yung mga suffering. Parang ganun. Parang kakabit siya eh. Partner siya eh. Parang tandem na siya ng living and suffering. Kailangan mong maghirap, kailangan mo maranasan mga pain para maramdaman mo din yung pleasure. So, that's the beauty of psychodynamic. And sabi niya, yun nga, kailangan i-conquer natin, kailangan i-fight natin yung mga struggles, challenges sa buhay. Yan. Para mas maramdaman, mas maging maliwanag, di ba? Yung, kumbaga magkaroon ng meaning talaga bago ka mamatay. Parang ganon. Sabi nga niya dito, di ba? Nobody seems to consider that not being able to grow old, kung hindi ka mag-grow old, di ba? Parang katulad din siya ng isang bata na ano yun, yung outgrow shoes, yung bang, syempre hindi, habang lumalaki siya, hindi nakakasya sa kanya yung sapatos niya. So, kailangan bumili siya ng bagong sapatos. Parang ganun din. Kailangan mong magbago, kailangan mong mag-change for the better. Kasi parang ang bata na, sige, suot mo pa rin kahit hindi nakasya sa'yo, di ba? Parang ganun eh. Yan. So, yeah. So I would like to hear, no, your other interpretation during our coffee hour, if you can, no, in this narrative. It's very deep. We are entitled to our own interpretations. So that is only my own interpretation of this narrative. Ayan. Psychological rebirth, also called self-realization or individuation, is the process of becoming an individual or whole person. So, dito pa lang, actually, dun nga, sabi nga niya sa middle age, middle life, dun daw tayo nagkakaroon ng psychological rebirth, also called self-realizations or individuation, once na nabalance natin yung ating mga archetypes, no? Yung ating mga opposite poles. Yan. So, this is the process of integrating the opposite poles into a single homogeneous individual. Yan. Kailangan kasi mabalansin mo yun eh. Ma-recognize mo, acknowledge mo na we both possess the anima, the animus, the persona, and the shadow. Yun. Yung mga yun, no? Extremely rare. Of course, extremely rare. Hindi lahat ng tao na kaya nilang i-balance yun sa kanilang persona, sa kanilang pagiging individual. And is achieved only by people who are able to assimilate their unconscious into their total personality. The self-realized person is dominated neither by unconscious processes nor by the conscious ego, but achieves a balance between all aspects of personality. So, ibig sabihin, hindi masasabi na ikaw ay self-realized person or individual if hindi mo nababalance lahat ng aspects sa personality mo. At kung ang pinakikinggan mo lang, if you're only dominated by your unconscious or your conscious, so hindi ka self-realized person. So, kailangan mabalance tayo. So, the key here is balance.